In the past months, I've used a simple 7-step cold email system to generate over $200,000 in profit, and it's the same framework my clients are using to consistently bring in 3 to 6 new high-ticket customers every month. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly how it works, how to craft messaging that converts, test and iterate in the right way, and build a consistent flow of qualified leads for your B2B agency through cold email. So, the first step is to basically collect every single piece of information about pain points and objections from previous sales calls that you've had. This can also be customer interviews, it can also be email threads from people that bought and people that didn't buy. It can be LinkedIn threads, even cold call transcripts. Basically, just finding all the information you can about what your ideal customers have actually said, like reasons they bought and reasons they didn't buy. This is so valuable. This is really golden information because what this will allow you to do is start off with an initial hypothesis on your message market fit based on actual available data, as opposed to just a guess based on what you think will work. Right? This is a way more data-driven approach. So I highly recommend gathering all that information, feeding it to an LLM, and then having the LLM analyze common patterns in what you're seeing in that data. So if you can ask your customers, this is something we do with all our clients at ScaleSprint, is we request this information. We ask them to do customer interviews, do a 15-minute interview and ask them exactly why they bought. What was their situation? What did they like when they bought from you? Was it the website? Was it the way the sales call was conducted? Was it something else? Did you have better rates than competitors? Like, these are all the things you have to know. It's super, super valuable. And so you're going to base your actual cold email angles on this information you get by doing this exercise. So that's the first step. The second step is to actually create the different angles, and you want to try to test one thing at a time, ideally, or one or two things, right? And a good thing to start off with is testing pain points, and testing pain points in conjunction with different roles. And so the example I have here is having one angle, which is pain point one, targeting role one, pain point one, targeting role two, pain point two, targeting role one, so on and so forth. So what we're basically doing here is we are, first of all, seeing if one of the roles in general are more responsive, but we're also testing different pain points across different roles. Now, for example, if we see that one specific pain point seems to resonate with one role, then obviously that's great. We have data on that. And if you want a tool to track this stuff, you can use Instantly.ai, which is the biggest cold email software in the world. And we're also certified experts with them. Highly recommend their tool. And here's an example of basically what it looks like. So you can see here the opportunities for step one. Version D got 9 leads, and version N got 5 leads. So, super valuable here to have this information. Step 3 is to send at least 2,000 emails per angle to relevant prospects. And so the reason why you want to send 2,000 emails per angle is because you really want to make it statistically significant. Now, why 2,000? Well, that's just sort of what we've seen work, right? Some people make the mistake and they think 100 emails is enough to make it statistically significant, but it's really not the case. You got to send 2,000 in our estimation to get relevant information on whether or not a specific angle works. So either people tend to discard angles too early, or they send 20,000 emails with the same angle, expecting things to change, which is pretty irrational. If you send 2,000 emails, you haven't got a lead, it's time to switch it up. So that's the step 3. Step 4 is to find the angle with the most positive engagement. So from the example above, this was version D. It also got a higher reply rate in general, which is generally good for just like email reputation, deliverability. So you want to sort of stick with the angle that gets the most replies and the most engagement. So this was version D, as I mentioned. And you got to be a bit careful here, because even though I say you should look for the angle with most positive engagement, it's also important to track what happens in the middle and the bottom of the funnel, right? Because you could get a lot of positive engagement on a lead magnet angle, for example, but it might be that if you actually just pitch the call, you get more people that go through the entire funnel, and the people that get the lead magnet just sort of get that, and then they don't convert into sales after that. And so that's important to keep in mind here at step 4. Now, step 5 is to take the one angle that worked, and then you can test that angle further, right? So let's say we're really confident here with pain point one targeting role one, and so that's all the angles from now on testing here. And so now we can start testing a direct call to action, like actually pitching the call. We can also do a soft call to action, so we can basically say, "Are you interested? Is this worth exploring?" We can also do lead magnet CTA, short copy, long copy. Like, this is just things we want to test to see what is the best way. Now we kind of know what pain point resonates and we know what role to target. Now we want to see what's the best way to get them on a call. That's the next step. That's what we're doing here. And so that's one example of what you can test. There's of course other things you can test as well, but this is sort of how we go about it here. Now, just because role one responded better in the first test, it doesn't mean that you have to discard all other roles that you're targeting. You can just do separate tests, right? So you can say, okay, we didn't really get much response from CEOs in this campaign. Okay, maybe we focus the pain point more on the bottom line instead of KPIs like qualified meetings, right? Like let's say here that targeting role one. was head of marketing, and they just really liked this qualified meetings angle. But we have the CEOs; they didn't really respond; they didn't care. Okay, let's try to mention profit, right? So that's kind of how we think about it. Step 6 is to double down on the best version of the best copy from the initial test, right? So you just want to increase the volume on that. You want to put most focus on that. You can, as I mentioned, you can still test other things, but you really want to put a lot of volume now and really double down on that, the best angle. And then step 7 is to create a more long-term strategy, right? Now we're assuming you have some idea of where your message market fit is. You sort of know what messaging resonates. And so now you want to have a long-term strategy. And so what we recommend for people is that they send a 3-step sequence to their entire total addressable market, meaning every single contact that can be identified within your total addressable market. And you do that every 2 to 3 months, right? So every 2 to 3 months, every contact on your list gets a 3-step sequence. And you keep doing this every 2 or 3 months. You keep retargeting and retargeting and retargeting, and eventually you'll reach copy fatigue. And if you've ran paid ads, you probably know about ad fatigue. Copy fatigue is the same copy here, the same concept here, right? When you run ads, you'll notice that certain angles that used to convert quite well, the prospects now are getting tired of that, so you switch up the ad creative. Same thing with email, so you switch up the structure of the email, like even just the structure, right? It doesn't even have to necessarily be the pain points and stuff like that. It just has to be different. And so that's kind of how you want to make this a repeatable process. Some people think that cold email is like a one-time blast and then it's over, but I would disagree. I think it's very much a long-term channel, like any other marketing channel. You just got to sort of have a strategy for implementing it long-term. And so to prove that, I also have a direct example here of a Instantly account, like the sending tool we use. So this is like over 6 months, literally generating 1,500 leads throughout that time, right? So you can see here how it's possible to keep this going and generate leads continually, even over half a year, right? So it's not just a 2-week blast and then it's over. So if you want to talk with me, if you want to implement a system like this in your own company, you can book a meeting with me, www.scalesprint.io, or the link in my description, and I'll be happy to talk with you.